When it comes to high-energy sports editing, the best in the business is Lobo Films. And today, he came on the show to get nerdy and talk editing with me. In this conversation, we covered everything from his favorite transition.
I'm a huge sucker for match cuts.
To how big his average project is.
I've had like 3 terabytes.
And to even which NLE he uses for captions.
Another thing I use CapCut for a lot, which is way better than Premiere or anything else I've used, is for captions.
Guys, this episode is loaded with juicy information, so let's dive right in. How long have you been editing for?
6 years, 6 to 7 years.
What is your editing software of choice?
Premiere Pro.
Music before or after the cut?
Before.
Feel that in your edits, which makes total sense. Do you have a go-to editing snack to keep you in the chair? If you got to hit long hours.
Energy drinks. I've been drinking a lot of the Alani News lately.
Okay.
I like those quite a bit.
Okay.
And then I used to do Jolly Ranchers for a while. I used to have like a bowl of Jolly Ranchers, and I would just kind of like do that as I was editing. Yeah.
That one's great because you can just pop it in, get a little sugar rush, no dirty fingers. Don't have to really keep everything working. That's perfect. What is your current favorite non-editing activity when you're not editing? What do you love doing?
Spending time with my family or going to the gym, getting a workout in. Yeah.
Okay, if you had to pick one right now, and again, I know that this changes throughout the years, but who is your I drop everything when I get the notification YouTuber to watch right now?
To be honest, I wouldn't even know, dude. Like I haven't even been watching YouTube like that in a long time.
So what's your favorite thing to consume then? Or do you not really consume much?
I don't really consume much, to be honest. If I do, it's just through social media. And just I like pages that I follow, I get inspiration from that. But other than that, I'm not really, unless I need to watch like a tutorial, but then usually even then I'm like just searching for what I need in that specific moment. And then I don't have a designated person that I go to. I just kind of watch a few, and then whichever one resonates with me more, I go with.
Yes or no, vertical video?
No.
I loved asking that because like all of your stuff is flipped so that people can watch it horizontally, and I was like, I feel like that better be the answer. That was all of my rapid fire questions, which are great. I feel like I've mentally logged a few things we might come back to. I want to start with one of my questions first rather than some of the Instagram questions, because really I want to dive into, and I think a lot of people will be fascinated. I'm fascinated by it. Just kind of your niche and how you got into editing that niche. For those of, I'm sure I've shown footage up to this point, but for those who don't know, like you're into and working with big clients doing high energy, high action brand and sports edits. And man, that is a space that I watch your stuff and just drool, and I have not been in it. So I'm just kind of curious how you got into that space.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, man. For me, it all kind of started back with fitness. Like I said, like on my own free time, I like to work out and stuff. So like that's actually kind of what started everything for me. Like back in 2016, Instagram had barely started rolling out like over 30-second videos that you could post. And I was filming my own workouts with my buddies and doing that for fun. And eventually, kind of like, I started enjoying it. Like I started looking forward to my workouts because I was going to be able to film and edit versus just like going to train. And that's when I started noticing like, yo, this is cool. I'm having fun with this. And eventually a couple different people in my gym knew about the little videos that I was making, and they reached out and asked for a couple. And then I did that for those people. And then I like reached out to bigger dudes in my gym, and I was like offering to do free videos, and then they took me up on the offer. And then eventually like it was like this little snowball effect that started happening within the Dallas Fort Worth area, which is where I was living at the time. And yeah, man, that's when I started thinking like, man, I could really turn this into something. Like I was working at Costco at the time, early morning shifts. I was going in at 4 a.m. out by 11. So then I'd have the rest of the day to kind of do whatever I wanted. And from there, I was just kind of like starting to work out, film more, do that. And eventually got to a point where I was like, I want to work with a brand, like I want to do that full time. So then that's when I started working with Flag Nor Fail. Moved from Texas to Montana. I was doing that for 3 years. That's where I met Jake as well. And then after those 3 years, I came over here to Salt Lake City in Utah, which is where I'm living now, and started working with another media team here, doing more corporate stuff, and then freelancing on the side too. And then that's kind of like where everything started changing for me, where I started like stepping away from filming as much and just doing more editing things, which is what I enjoy the most. And making connections through Instagram, posting good work. I mean, it's not all about connections. You have to be able to back it up as well. And so I was making those connections. I was making good work, and every time opportunities were presented to me, I was trying to take advantage and do the best that I could. And eventually started leading into like bigger and bigger things, and opening bigger doors. And I've just kind of been on this, just like little incline of going with bigger brands, and I want to keep that going, so that's in a nutshell kind of like how everything came about.
For sure. No, and that's a fascinating story. And I love too, you talked about the brand side and wanting to back up with good work. I mean, the thing that always just blows my mind every time is your packaging, right? Like when I go to your Instagram feed, the way you present everything, it's just like, it's exactly like you said. It's like, hey, if someone was to come to you and you were to be like, oh yeah, I'm an editor, and they were to go, wonder what he's up to. It's like you pull up your page and it's just right there. It's like, whoa, first of all, this is nicely packaged. And then any one that I click into, it's like, right away, Lobo edits. Lobo knows what he's about with his style and how he edits, and there is no mistaking that. And I think that pillar, that line that you've created is flawless. So hats off for that.
No, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, to be honest, I treat my Instagram as a portfolio in general. Like, I don't even have a website. Like, everything I do has just been through Instagram. So like when people tend to talk down on social media or they hate it, like for me, it changed my life, and I do not hate it one bit, So I treat it as like a portfolio, and just try to display all my best work on there. Obviously not all of my work, because there's a lot of stuff that I do that I don't post, which is mainly like more corporate things and stuff like that. But I don't want to be known for those things. So like what I'm putting on Instagram is what I want to be recognized for, or what I want to be approached for more often. Even though I'm open to doing any kind of work, I want to stay within the fitness, sports, action like world, because I just enjoy that.
And I think that that's a great tip to anyone who's getting into editing, which is just like show and make what you want to do. Because again, like for in your example, people see that and right away know exactly what it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sure.
Yeah, I mean it's a double-edged sword, because it's a double-edged sword, because you can kind of hinder yourself. Like if people just automatically think, oh, that's all he does, they won't even reach out. But I will say for me, that hasn't been the case, I guess. Like I've posted such good work that like people regardless will still reach out and be like, yo, I know this isn't in your world, but do you do this? I'm like, yeah, I'm open to do whatever. And then that conversation happens. Now, will I post it? I don't know. It depends, like if I really like it, then yeah. But
yeah, I had that happen this week. I had a guy reach out to me. It was like, hey, I've got like kind of a more corporate video. I know that's not really your cup of tea, because you're kind of, I'm a big fan of the silly, goofy, I go crazy. Like I polish is not a word on Jake Felzine's channel. And, but he was like, but I can tell, like, you know what you're doing. You're just choosing a different style. And I think you could do this. And I was like, yeah, of course I can do it. So like, if you want that, I'd be down to look into it. But no, I think that totally resonates with me. I've got to ask you, just as I don't know if you can see in our shots, like I'm a huge lover of music, and like I'm trying to get back into music production and stuff as well as editing. And dude, your rhythm in your edits is god tier. Do you have a music background? Do you like, what is the background there? Or have you literally figured out like all of the rhythmic stuff through editing? 'Cause dude, it is otherworldly.
I appreciate that. To be honest, I have no music background. I think I've always had a love for music. Like I love music and like I'm always listening to music. And and I love all types of music too, you know. So like I think to a certain extent I've always had kind of like an ear for it in a sense. So like in my edits, probably one of the things I do enjoy doing a lot when editing is not like after I've chosen the music, but customizing the track to be perfect for that length of time. Like I'm not just picking a track, throwing it on there, and then cutting it exactly where it needs to stop, and then fading it out. Like I'm trying to custom rearrange the track completely so that it sounds like, wow, that track was meant for that 15-second video, or it was meant for that 30-second video, you know? So like depending on the length, I'll go in and cut up the track and find the everything with music has like patterns, you know? So once you find the pattern on certain parts, it's kind of like a matter of just like hacking it down and then rearranging the pattern so that it fits how you want it. And so I enjoy that a lot.
Gosh, you're gonna make me cry a tear of joy, because that's like, I love that stuff. And um, the other thing that you do in that vein that I love so much is, so yeah, I can definitely tell that the track is custom. You're building it to fit your edit as you're going, but then also like a typical Lobo thing that just like makes like just tickles me is when you like a whoosh comes in, and then like maybe there's like a punch thrown or some kind of like stomp or sports thing, and you totally EQ the music to like amplify the hits, and the hits are usually in rhythm with the beat. I mean, dude, just chef's kiss. I love that.
Yeah, no, man, that takes a lot of time and practice, of course, too, you know. And then there's been times too when I've done it and it's just like I'm kind of like doing things and moving things around and then happy accidents, you know, like oh that beat kind of like hit with that slam at the perfect time and then you just kind of roll with it.
Gosh, dude, we're just like rolling through all of the questions I had with perfect transitions, because I wanted to ask you about, and you had posted on your socials, that match cut shot for the biking video. What was the brand again? Spatswear. I think it was like a
That's
sunglasses
yeah,
ad.
yeah.
But you had this
Yeah.
shot where it was like a day night match cut. And I mean, like his knee position, everything was just flawless. And I think I kind of wanted to get into that with you a little bit on. You said happy accidents, but is there any kind of tips that you think or tools that you use that help you kind of comb through footage to find those moments? Because it's crazy.
I mean, for that shot in general too, like I don't even know if it was planned to be that way. I don't think it was because they never told me when they gave me the footage. I just had recognized it when I was going through making my selects because I every when I start every edit, I open up a timeline, I drag all the clips onto that timeline, and then I just start cutting it up and making selects and just having the best of the best shots. So as I was going through that, I noticed I was like, yo, these shots are pretty like similar, like there's something here I could probably do. And they weren't exactly like perfectly framed up, so I had to like um move the position and scale of one a little bit. You know, I'd lower the opacity and kind of stack them and then try and match it as perfect as possible. But I mean, lucky for like I got lucky with that one, you know, to where like the writer was writing the exact same kind of intensity and pace at that shot, and it just um happened perfect. And there's a lot of times where I'm just kind of like looking through things and I guess I'm a huge sucker for match cuts. Like that's probably one of my favorite transitions out of any transitions you can do. I mean, everyone does like the crazy hype, like crazy VFX things, but like I like the simpler, almost unnoticeable kind of things, and I enjoy those a lot for sure.
Well, it's just a very natural flow. Yeah, and we could talk about that too, because I mean, I think you do use definitely some flashier transitions where appropriate, and I love to hear that the match cut, is kind of your favorite, because I do think it is just like the simplest, most elegant.
Yeah, it's like a classic, you know, like it's been used in film for a long time, and it's super effective when using it, you know. And even like tons of series that I watch, like Stranger Things, for instance. I don't know if you watch Stranger Things at all, but like towards the last season, like they do a lot of cool match cuts with sounds that they put in there and stuff, and I'm just I love it.
Well, and I wanted to ask too, because I'm trying to remember which video it was, but I remember you had said that like you were using, I think it was a football edit with some lightning, and you had talked about doing CapCut for the transitions on that. So from the nerdy dad realm, I was a little curious, like, were you doing just the transitions in CapCut? Did you do the whole edit in CapCut? How did that work?
Yeah, no, I was just, so like if you go into CapCut, like I have the desktop version. I hardly ever use it for editing. So like I'm always in Premiere. But I messed with it on my phone one time and I was like, hey, this has like some really good just standard plugged in transitions that you just drag and drop on your footage, you know? So like with that football edit, I took it into the desktop version and made a couple cuts where I would want the transition, and then I went through all the CapCut transitions, just kind of experimenting and exploring it, you know, and seeing what was there. And you know, like that lightning one happened, and I mean that's something like if you were trying to do that in After Effects, it'd take you a minute because you'd have to like be able to like do it all from scratch. And CapCut did it in like a matter of a second, or just drag drop, and then it like even like the lightning strikes even like follow the person's outline, you know. So it's like it was crazy that it did it that fast, that good. Another thing I use CapCut for a lot, which is way better than Premiere or anything else I've used, is for captions. So like it has the auto captions, and then there's like so many different animations it can do with the text and everything. And so like a lot of companies that I've worked with, and they want stuff for just social media, or take the TikTok style videos, like CapCut is clutch for that stuff, you know. And I finish those videos super quick because of CapCut. But I'll still initially always do the bulk of my edit in Premiere, and then if there's any little extra thing, I'll like export my project and then bring that exported version into CapCut or After Effects or whatever, and do those little extra splashes of detail.
We're big fans of that over here, which is right tool for the right job. You know, like if you are doing something that something can do faster and it still reaches the artistic integrity or the job or whatever it is, like absolutely, I do that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like you said, they're all tools, you know, and it's like up to you on how you want to take advantage and use them to help your workflow. Like just because just because a TikToker's using CapCut doesn't necessarily make you less of a filmmaker or anything if you're going to use that versus anything else. Like they're all tools, and they're all really, really good tools, you know? So
yeah, I hate the NLE wars if it's not the functional side, where it's like, oh, well, CapCut's better, but it's like, well, what are you using for? It's like, oh, I use it for captions. Like, oh yeah, CapCut is better. Like that's the best tool for that. Whereas it's just like, oh, Premiere's so good. It's like, well, okay, cool. Like, but what are you doing? And if you're like, well, this, and this, it's like, oh yeah, no, Premiere is better at that. So now I have the context, and I'm a staunch believer in that.
I mean, with that being said, dude, since we're talking about like editing platforms, I don't know if you've seen the stuff for Premiere Pro that's going to be coming out, but I'm super excited for the future of Premiere Pro. I've been using Premiere Pro since I first started, so like I've had these moments of like maybe I should switch to DaVinci because you know everyone else is doing it. Yep. But I mean, for me, like it's been awesome, and then now I've been seeing these new things for Premiere Pro where they're going to have OpenAI integrated with it, and like so many extra things that you can do, or that we'll be able to do, that it's gonna be pretty exciting within the next year to 2 years to see like how much can be done within Premiere Pro.
So I've used Premiere, but just a teeny tiny little bit. And at the time, just like we're talking about, I didn't have a reason for that tool to make sense because what I needed from it, I was already getting from Final Cut and Resolve.
What are you using to edit?
Mostly Final Cut and Resolve. I would say I'm pretty 50-50. I was primarily Final Cut for a very long time, wanted a little more juice. And so I started learning Resolve because, there's so much more you can do there. And now, like we've talked about, it just kind of depends, like, what do I need for this edit? And then I pick depending.
I thought about using Final Cut when I first started. Because like back in 2016, right when I was just starting, I was like wondering which one do I use? There wasn't that many options at the time, but like there was Final Cut and Premiere Pro, and those were like the two big ones. And I remember just trying to watch tutorials to see which one would fit me more. And then I was just like, you know what, it seems like Premiere Pro is a little more professional. So I just kind of like forced myself to learn it, and here we are.
So have you pretty much only used Premiere your whole career, and it's been, I mean, like from your perspective, you're like, hey, it's been great.
First I started with my phone, and I was just using iMovie on my iPhone. And then I did Premiere Pro. The thing with Premiere though, like I tried it for a week, like my first week of doing it, and it was so overwhelming that I quit, and I like went back to using my phone. And then I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks later, I was like, you know what, let's give this another shot. And then so I like really tried and forced myself to learn it, and I had sticky notes all over my my desktop, and um essentially I was treating YouTube videos like school at the time. I was like, I had a notebook and I was doing notes, and like essentially just teaching myself how to be an editor based off YouTube and trial and error, you know. And I'm glad I stuck with it because it's definitely changed my life. So
No, and it's interesting to hear you say that. I need to go watch what's coming out because honestly, I've been on the fence about 13,000 times lately to jump to it because of the autopod feature. Like, I can cut these episodes really quick in Final Cut, and I think it's the best tool I own for it. But to do that way more automatically sounds pretty enticing. So if there's other juicy stuff coming down the pipes, maybe I need to think about it. But we'll see. Let's hit a couple Instagram questions. So I put out to the people to see what kind of stuff they would ask you, and I handpicked a few that I thought were pretty good. So let's hit a couple of those next. So
for sure.
Shimri Shyam asked, what inspired you to get into editing, which we kind of already hit on, but is there anything there from more of an inspirational standpoint maybe that you wanted to cover?
I mean, not so much inspiration that got me into editing. It was more so like I enjoyed that more than I do filming. And that's why I've been transitioning into that. Like I'm not opposed to filming. Like I'll still film things from time to time, but it's really rare that I do that now. And I guess the now the like type of business that I'm getting into, which is like bigger brand things, it's like it takes a whole team to make these awesome videos, you know. And I guess I like playing the role of editor. Like I like receiving footage that's already shot super well by like other pros that are like experts in their craft at doing that, and then handing it off to me and doing that. So I mean that's mainly like, and on top of that with editing, I like the puzzle aspect of it. You know, like every edit is like a different puzzle, and the problem solving that goes into it. Like I enjoy all that.
I think a lot of us getting into it and kind of being in the internet space, you know, there's so much that you have to do if you want to do a certain type of video, right? You got to shoot, you got to script, you got to edit. But like you're saying, there's a whole world where there's people who just love to make amazing shots. And then there's people like you and me that are like, I love to assemble that puzzle. Like, give me all that clay and I want to sculpt with it. And yeah, it's just kind of weird in the YouTube realm because it's not something that I think a lot of people often think about, but it is totally a career path.
Yeah, no, and I mean, if you dive even deeper into it, like depending on how big the productions are, like you have the guys that are the shooters, then you have the directors, then you have the gaffers that are just like lighting everything, and there's people that are experts at lighting and they love lighting and that's all they want to do, you know. So then when you have all these individuals that are like focus all of their energy into that one craft, and then all these different crafts kind of come together to make something really big, like that's when like I think some of the best work is ever put out, because everyone is like honed in on what they're really good at and doing that.
As good, you know, as confident as you might be with the camera, like, are you going to get that biking shot lit the way that those people lit it? Maybe, but maybe not, right? Whereas those guys are like, okay, this has to be the sexiest looking high energy bike shot ever. And then the guy down the pipes can play with it or whatever and find that perfect match cut. Yeah. Okay. William Duras asked a whole bunch, but they were all really good ones. And I wanted to get them answered. So the
Okay.
first one that he had, and I thought was a really good one because, again, I think this is different for everyone and you're in kind of a different niche than I am. And he wanted to know, how do you present your first cut to a client? What does that look like?
It's kind of changed. That's actually a really good question. It's changed. Before I used to do like a pretty polished first cut, because I mean I didn't really know what I was getting into as far as like as the revision world inside of things of an editor. I learned that kind of like the hard way. Um, but at first I was sending off a pretty polished cut that had like full sound design, everything, and then revisions start coming in where we want to change this and that, and then I started learning now, like before I even do sound, a lot of times I'll just do music in the cut and no color or anything, and then or if I do is just you slap like a quick Rec 709 LUT on there and then send that off, because when I was doing the more polished first cuts and then you have to make all these changes, like all this time and hours that I put into the sound design is now being changed, and that was such a waste of time in the process. So now I've kind of learned to like hold back a little bit on my first round cuts, and then well, of course, like with all the clients, I'll like put in the email like, hey, once we're picture locked, then I'll dip into sound design a little more and we can kind of do that. But like the main thing is always to be picture locked before we start doing anything crazier, because depending on the company and how many people's eyes need to see it before it even gets to somewhere, like there's moments where you have too many chefs in the kitchen and they don't even know what they want, and then they're just like, and it gets crazy. but but yeah, no, my first cut is usually pretty bare, and then it develops as we get further into it.
Moving around 25 layers of sound effects tracks can definitely become a headache, and you want to be doing as little of that as possible.
Yeah, no, it kills your soul, man. And just like, yeah, it's not fun.
Especially when you miss one and there's just like a random hit or whoosh and you're like, oh, like I got to figure out where I wanted that to be. Do you sit down on like a call with the clients usually for that? Or is it just send them off a file,
Um,
let them kind of look at it and send their revisions?
I want to say there's probably only been two clients that I've ever worked with where they wanted to do like a live editing session. So like after the first cut was done, sent off, and then we planned the next day for like a live editing to where I open up my timeline and then we kind of go through it, and then that's only happened twice though. But out of all the other projects, usually it's just a Google Drive or WeTransfer, send it off, and then I get notes, usually through like Frame.io or something, and it's just like notes of changing things. Um, but other than that, and then I mean, I will say one other tip that I would like to give to a lot of people that are getting into editing, um, like always duplicate your project when you're going to make changes. So like leave your V1 completely how you had it and then duplicate it and then start your V2 on the duplication, and do that, because there's going to be times where like they're going to see something and be like, oh, you know what, let's go back to how the other one was. And then if you already made those changes on your V1 and you never duplicated it, you're screwed.
Yeah. Oh,
So
for sure.
I learned that the hard way as well too. So these are the little things that like I had to learn over time, and I've just been knowledgeable in that now, and learned my lessons.
No, that is a fantastic tip. I think in that same vein too, like, is there any sort of, because I just love your sound design. Like, is there any beginner tips there that you would maybe have for anyone?
I mean, I think I've said it before, like in my Instagram stories and stuff. I think the main thing with sound design, and this is for me. I mean, I don't even consider myself like a sound engineer or composer. Like I'm just a dude who like I've learned how to do it, and I'm decent at it.
You are very good at it.
Um,
Thank you for being
I
humble,
appreciate it.
though.
The way I've approached it is not to be too literal with the sounds. I mean, like if someone's gonna stomp on the ground, I mean, in real life, it's not even gonna sound that exciting. So like I try to just be a little extra with it, and if someone stomps on the ground, I want to hear the earth shake and crackle, and like, does that happen in real life? No, but when you're watching it in a video and you hear it, you're like, wow, that was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So like I like doing that. And then and yeah, essentially just kind of like trying different things and getting crazy with it, because at the end of the day, you're the one that puts out the work. So it's like, if it sounds horrible, you don't have to put it out there. No one else is going to hear it. Like, so just try, even if you think it's crazy, try it, see how it sounds, and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think what you're saying too, I mean, like trying sound effects that you just wouldn't even think sometimes, like it may sound super stupid, but there's so many times where I've tried something, maybe I reverse it, maybe I pitch correct it or whatever, and it's like, wow, it for some reason, like this thing that is, I mean, I can't even think of an example off the top of my head, but it's like, it's not even related to this, but it just works here, you know? And yeah, like you said, it's that puzzle piece playing, that building of the timeline that just has fun.
Another example that I can give is a lot of times when like if football players or something, or like a athlete is running, like I want to hear the fabric of his clothes moving almost, you know? So then I like look up sounds, and like a lot of times the sound that I use for that is like a jacket. It's like a windbreaker jacket moving. And like, is he wearing a windbreaker? No, but the sounds that windbreaker is making is kind of what I want to hear when he's running. So then I kind of like add it in there, you know? So it's like, it's things like that. It's like, and over time, the more you do it, the better you get at knowing what kind of sound you want, or like what kind of sound could essentially fit that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when we're swinging through the air, sure, if you had a good enough set of ears and we're close enough to, there's a whoosh, but not, you know, it's like you said, I loved what your take of kind of being a little more extra with it, a little more dramatic, and I think that's what makes it just like so much more fun. So the other question that William had that I thought was kind of an interesting one, and maybe I've got a few spin-off ones, is like, generally speaking, is there sort of a general size of project that you get from just a gigabytes perspective? Or like, what do you see there? Or maybe the biggest you've gotten?
The biggest that I've gotten, um, yeah, I've had like 3 terabytes of on a project before. And a lot of times it's because they're shooting with like such high, like the REs,
Mm-hmm.
and like have it in like 6K, and it's just like heavy files, you know. I would say a standard like average for most projects though, it's like 500 to 600 gigs, and then or a terabyte. Um, I mean, I get sent SSDs for a lot of this stuff too. So, because yeah, having to download it would be. I've had to download some before, and it's so annoying and time wasting. So like, a lot of time, like most projects, I just get SSDs sent to me and then send them back when project's done.
Yeah, very cool. No, I think a lot of people maybe like in this day and age would think, oh, it's all got to be cloud-based stuff, right? Like we always got to do this. And it's like, no, there's still a world where people literally send you a hard drive, and that's what you're editing off of.
Oh yeah, no, that's all I have, dude. Like I could. I mean, I have a whole thing full of SSDs too of other projects sometimes, where like, I mean, a lot of times they ask for me to send it back, and then other times they don't even say anything, and then I just hold on to it until they ask or whatever.
I'm assuming you have to get special permission to post some of that stuff on your socials, or is that something you bake into like your agreement when you work with people?
No, unfortunately, that's just kind of like depending on what they say. There's a lot of like there's a couple cool projects. Like there's one Project Rock that I've been holding on to that I've been wanting to post, and like The Rock was supposed to post it, whatever, but then like he got busy with his schedule and things, and then so like it never came out, and I still got paid for the work and everything, but it's like it's just this like really dope project, and it's just like it just sitting there, yeah, and I have to kind of wait. I've been kind of like poking them a little bit, and like, hey, since we're not using this and it's not, I mean, the product has already been out, it's already been done, like, can I share it? And they're like, oh well, we want to hold on to it just in case we want to revisit it later.
Yeah, and you're like,
So I'm
dang
just
it.
kind of like, yeah, there's a couple projects that I've had like that, to where it's like the timing of like when it needed to go out just didn't align, and then it just didn't happen. But that always kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
At least they still paid you, right? That's good that they held up that end of the deal for sure, which obviously would be super shitty if they didn't. So very cool. Okay, same guy. He also asked about like the organization of your assets, which I think is a good starter question, and maybe I'll have a few more off of that. But like, I'm assuming, you know, I'm in the space. We've got kind of our things that we like. Like, how do you approach the reusables in your life for editing, and what does that look like, your assets?
Yeah, I have a one SSD. It's like a 4 terabyte one. And that one I've made duplicates of it just because everything's on that one, or it has like all my sound effects from everywhere that I've collected, film burns and everything. So and I organize my files. So I have like an effects file, and then within that file there's subfolders of like film burns and everything else, and then I'll have another folder for sound effects, and then within that sound effects there's like subfolders of like which places I've gotten from and stuff. And I mean, I edit so much that like I know all those folders like the back of my hand for the most part, and I know where exactly I need to get what I need in that moment.
Does Premiere have a feature? This is me just being ignorant, but does Premiere have a feature where like those folders can stay like permanently in every project? Like in Resolve, it's called like power bins, where you can have like a set one.
Premiere has that. I don't use it just because like I don't know. I guess mentally for me, like I want to keep it separate, and I mean for me, it's not hard to just pull up the Finder with the folder and just drag and drop what I need.
It's so funny you say that because I actually usually do what you do. Like people are always like, Jake, you got to use power bins. I'm like, it's right there. And I know what it is that I need. So if I need it, I just throw it over. And like, I feel that way too. Cause a lot of times if I throw it in there, it clutters up my, my media pool. And it's like,
yeah, that, and I don't know. For me mentally, like I just feel like if I had to dive into Premiere even more and further to get all these things, and then I just want to kind of keep Premiere with my clips, editing and do that, and then if anything else I need to, I just go into my SSD and then kind of like drag and drop what I need.
Yeah.
And that's just mentally for me, that's just how it works.
There's no wrong way when your final product looks like what you make, right? That's why I love doing these interviews, because the right way doesn't exist. Okay, this was a question I had. You do a lot of the videos have voiceover in them. Is that something that you as the editor are responsible to go like contract out, track down, or is that something that's given to you typically with the footage? Like how does that work? Because in the YouTube realm, you gotta make it yourself, obviously. So I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, every project's different. It just depends on the ask. There's been times where like a VO is already given to me. Like, a lot of times, like if they have something in mind, they'll already have it done. Other times there's been projects too where like I'm like, you know what, this could really use a VO. Like if we did one, could be cool. Like they might not even have that as an ask, but I'll throw the suggestion out there, and then if they're like about it, a lot of times I use JP to do the voiceover.
I was gonna ask because I was like, it sounds familiar sometimes.
yeah, I use him a lot, and usually like I'll come up with a script sometimes and present that if they don't have anything at all. Like the Dustin Poirier video, the latest one that I did, that one had a little bit of VO that they had did, but they were just kind of like asking him questions, and it was like an interview kind of thing. And then I didn't want to use that, so I like wrote out a script. I sent it to them. I was like, hey, what if we did this? And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be kind of cool. So then I had JP do the voiceover. I added in the video, and then they loved it so much that they're like, we're gonna give this to Dustin to do the voiceover, so that way it's his voice.
Nice.
And so then they ended up giving it to him. Then he did the whole VO, and then they sent it back to me. Then I plugged it in. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times just depending on what it is, and if I feel like if it doesn't have it and I feel like it would make it better, I'll always try and push for that.
Yeah. Problem solving, right? I mean, you're solving problems where it's like, this feels a little naked here and needs something. And, maybe they don't even think they need it.
For sure. And I mean, nowadays, story is king, So it's like, and I mean, yeah, you can tell a story visually, but sometimes if you have someone saying things as well and you're seeing it, it just comes off better.
So much value. You're the man. Okay, the next question I had, very, very nerdy, but I personally am a huge sucker for again, just efficiency in the edit, right? Like anytime I'm working on something, I want it to just feel like I can do as I think. So I love hotkeys. I love asking people about hotkeys. Like, and again, maybe I won't. I feel like there's going to be some carryover. I haven't used Premiere, but is there any like hotkeys to someone who's starting in Premiere that you're like, set this up now? This will save you so much time.
I don't know if there's like a certain one, because like my Premiere shortcuts on my keyboard are not anywhere near what this like what the standard version is. Like when you get it, there's already pre done ones. I've like dipped into it and completely changed it big time. Yeah, and then I have a mouse that also, it's like a gaming mouse, but it has like 7 buttons on it. And those ones too, like I have like my in and out on the inside of the mouse. And that one's been a game changer kind of for like doing things. I have a delete button and like on the scroll, like the scroll you can push down, so that's like a delete button. So like I just do that right away. I have it essentially tailored to where like my left hand never has to leave the keyboard and my right hand never has to leave the mouse, and I'm just kind of like click, 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 and doing things.
All of those were fantastic examples, and I was hoping you would say that, right? Because I mean, standard hotkeys are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm the same way. Like, I think Resolve and Final Cut, I couldn't even tell you what they should be because I just like am tinkering so constantly with like, I think this could be better. This could be faster. I'd love to have this ripple delete maybe here, or, how do I not reach for that? Or yeah.
To zoom into my timeline, I have it set as A, and to zoom out is S. So, and that's not even, I mean, in the standard way, I think you have to hit like command and something else at the same time. But I just like tapping, like doing it really quick, and that's it.
For sure. Well, because I mean, zooming, it doesn't need 2 buttons. You're doing that all the time. Why not just have it be 1? Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
For sure. Again, I'm so big on just like how we interface with these tools, right? And that's kind of like the super nerdy stuff of just what am I doing that's taking too long, that's hurting my hands because I'm using it too much or whatever. Like I can nerd out about that stuff all day. I think it's so fun.
I would say a game changer for me has been a stand desk for sure. Like I can hit the button and it'll like stand up. I'll do that for a little while and sit back down and kind of go back and forth. That's been game changer for sure.
One or multiple monitors? That's a good question.
I have one like just big curved monitor. Yeah, I can't do the multiple monitor. I've tried it before and I didn't like it.
I've actually gone back to one main one, and then all of my side monitors are for like Finder windows or stuff that's not editing related.
Yeah, I get like, I feel like I get overwhelmed too easy, like if there's too many screens and things. So like I rather just have one big one that's just, and it's curved, so I mean I enjoy editing on it.
Do you have like a big desktop that you've built, or do you use like a Mac, or what kind of machine are you cutting with?
I use the Mac Studio Pro.
Okay, sweet.
But yeah, I think it's like 64 gigs of RAM on it.
And that's like the rectangle-y looking one, right? They're the little box.
Yeah, it's like a little box. Yeah. I love it though. I mean, it's been doing awesome for me. If I do things in After Effects, it handles it pretty good. Yeah, 0 complaints on it.
I've kind of been wanting one of those. I keep sticking with laptops because I keep thinking that I'll go like edit places, and like maybe once or twice a year that happens. Otherwise, I'm in the office.
Yeah, same. I have a laptop, but like I hardly ever use it, especially for editing. I think I've only traveled one time where I had to like edit on site, which that sucks. I hate doing that. So like after a couple times, I've been offered to do it here and there for like, there's been like a couple like concerts that they asked me to go. This is actually recently too, like last month, and I just said no, just because I've done the 1 day turnaround things and they're just not fun, man. I hate that. So I've been turning those down more and more just because I want to be able to take my time on it and edit from home as well,
Gotta have access to those Jolly Ranchers and the standing desk.
Yeah, and I think also it's with my age too. I mean, I guess if I was younger again, like if I was like 22, 23, I'd be more down to like travel and edit on site and doing all that. But like the older I'm getting now, man, it's more like I just want to be in my space and my zone and take my time with it. as much as possible. You know, obviously everything always needs to be quick turns, but
those kids, man, they make you enjoy the moments where you can work in a nice silent place, for sure. Been there. The only other thing I was going to ask as kind of a last question was just tips. What, you know, people getting into this world, finding their niche, getting into editing, you know, you've definitely had some awesome insights, but is there anything you felt like we've missed that people would really benefit from hearing from someone who's on the front lines day in and day out doing it?
Biggest question for last, huh? I guess probably like one of the biggest things that I could think of would be to just use social media to your advantage. You know, it's a tool, and it's up to you on how you want to use it. If you want to use it just for entertainment and to escape, go for it. But if you really try to use it as a tool for business and to make connections, um, they could change your life super easy. You know, that, and then and just be consistent with it, and I think truly enjoy it. I think a lot of people now are trying to be filmmakers or editors because they know that that's a way, like something that they can do and you can make a good living off it. Um, and so people are just chasing that because it's like, oh, you know what, that's better than working a 9 to 5 job. Um, but I think really loving it and like something that you would do for free on your own time, which is how I started. You know, like I literally would get off of my 9 to 5 job working at Costco to go film and edit and do that stuff for free and just learn and do it just because I enjoyed it, you know? And I think that's why I've been able to be pretty successful in it, because I've never really been one to like, I'm not chasing the money or anything for it. Like obviously I need it now to like to keep living and provide for my family, but at the same time it's like one of those things where like if I lost it all tomorrow, I'd start again for free.
Mm-hmm.
And do it like that, you know? So I think if you're gonna do it for the right reasons, be into it because you truly enjoy it. Don't come into it trying to chase money and do all that, you know, and comparing yourself to others, and it's not good.
Yeah, it never ends well. And I can't remember where I heard it, but it's like you need to love it to get past that last like 20%, right? Like the money,
for sure,
the drive, whatever, like maybe that'll get you 80% of the way there, but the last most important 20%, which is the difference maker on what makes you great, which is where the grind starts, you have to love it to get over that hump. And yeah, I think that is excellent advice. I love that.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple and cliche, I guess, but it's like it's true. Like I mean, if you truly enjoy what you're doing, the money follows regardless, you know. And once you enjoy doing it, staying up extra to get things done or whatever, it's not going to really seem like hard work as much, just because you already like doing it. People will be like, dang, you work so hard, da, 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 da. And it's like, well, no, I mean, I like what I'm doing, so I just I do it.
So well said. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. I think before we wrap up today, I want to just make sure that you get a chance to tell people where to find you, which I've already said it, but maybe make sure they know for sure where to become a Lobo fan like myself. And yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, really the only place I'm posting anything is on my Instagram, Lobo__films. I do have YouTube. I used to do tutorials from time to time, and then I kind of like stopped doing that just because I got so busy. And there are some tutorials on there. I do eventually want to like try and finish up a course and get that going as well too for editing.
Yeah.
But yeah, IG's the main place where you can see all my stuff.
Awesome. Yep. And you guys, you won't regret it. Definitely go check him out. Well, hey, thank you so much, man. I will let you get on with your day and really appreciate the time today. I know all the Jake Felzine family appreciated it as well. This was great. And yeah, just thank you so much.
No, yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.